what needs to be done to get out of the situation. And the next one is dare to dream. Most of the times I've when I've mentored people, oh, I'm going in to ask for promotion, or I'm going to ask for a salary increase, and I know my boss is going to say no, and I'm not going to get it, or yeah, I'm not going to get this job, or I'm not going to get this project done. So when you go with that, how are you going to get it done then? How are you going to get the job? Or, so to me, it is better to dream big and have that strong intention that, have a visualization of you and the other person shaking hands and being happy about the whole thing, or you buying something with the new salary increase that you got. So when you start dreaming, like for instance, I'm afraid of sitting in the middle in flights, and yeah, really. I guess a lot of people. So when I called, I had booked a flight in British Airways, and I called them, and I was like mad. I said, I paid for a business class. You're not giving me a seat. And they said, ma'am, it doesn't matter who you are. We don't assign seats till 24 hours before. And I said, then I have to cancel the flight because I can't even imagine sitting from here to India, sitting in the middle row. So leave alone, going to Houston or something. So, uh, and so I fought, and the person said, heck with it, and didn't do anything. But then when I thought about it and I called again with a totally different approach, I saw myself sitting in the end seat and having a drink in my hand and enjoying, like a dream and intention. So my whole approach was different. I was more, friendly. And I said, oh, I know you can do it. And then they said, oh, don't worry about it. We've had a thing and we can do it. And they were able to do it for me. They were able to give me a better seat in the business class, and I was assigned all the way. So I think that's what is the dare to dream, the intention, the hopes all have to be there. You cannot go with any doom, this person is nasty, going to thing, and then say it only when you believe it. That is the third rule that I have, the fourth rule, that you have to, don't go there and give options if you're not going to accept it for yourself. Like the first rule is this option something I would accept? And if I'm not going to accept it, I'm not going to present it to somebody else. I've had people coming to this so-called negotiation and give options. And when I ask questions, my background is in market research, so I know how to ask questions so that the other person will spill their guts. But I'm just kidding. But anyway, when I ask, they would tell me, so if they're not going to accept it, then how would they expect? So the credibility is very important. And also, people get very, like, I used to give market research presentations, and the credibility was very important, because my background, statistics, all that is important. So when I go in there and present, I'm not going to present data, but I'm going to present insights, but I would have the backup. So if somebody asks me, I would be able to tell them why I'm saying that they need to do this, why I think that this market is not a good market, not to go into it. So the credibility is very important. And I think one of the things you were saying, respond versus react, that is very, very, it's very Eastern thought process. See, reaction is very emotional. It's on the surface. And reaction happens when you're angry, when you're not thinking clearly. Respond means addressing the question or the problem extremely responsible way. That's why it's called respond. It's a responsible way of addressing. So, for instance, I was doing a role play in a class, and one person said, the client was role playing, said, well, the your competition is offering us a better deal. It's competition A, B, and C is offering this deal, and they can do the reports on time, and they're not even costing that much. Immediately, the reaction from the vendor group was, "Oh, we know that competition. They are, did you see the newspaper? They're going to be out of existence. What are you going to do then?" And I said, "No, that is reaction." And I said, "What is the goal there? The goal is not to prove that the other person is wrong or that the competition is. The goal is to have the other person rely on your credibility and accept you. So there is a better way of addressing it. Saying, okay, I understand that you have contacted the competition, and we're fine if you want to go with it. We have been with you for 10 years, and we're very appreciative. And once you sign on with the client, and if you need help, don't hesitate to call. We'll come in and help you. So, something like that, are more responsible, that you care about the client. You don't want the client to go with a competitor. Instead of saying it, say it indirectly, but be responsible in your answers. So that is the response. I mean,
Let
when
me,
I used to do.
yeah, let me jump in. Sorry, hold your train of thought. I don't want to interrupt. I hate to interrupt your train of thought because it's great. I have not heard respond framed in the way that you just did to address in a responsible way. I really think that's a beautiful nugget. So I just wanted to kind of emphasize that in the description you're giving to it. I've just not heard that before, Mala. So sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to, yeah, share that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That that's and I learned it when I used to make presentations on market research. I remember one presentation on customer service, and the whole operations area was up in arms. When I walked in, the analyst was the one who was going to present, and he presented, and everybody was, you took the wrong sample, you didn't call the right people, and things like that. And the analyst was said, well, you gave the data, and it was like he was reacting. And he said, sampling, he said, I have a PhD and I've been doing this for 15 years. What do you mean that we were wrong in sampling? And then I said, no, time out. I said, you have to address the persons. They're all angry because it's going to affect their bonus. That's what I was thinking. I didn't say that. They're afraid of the bonus and the thing. Instead of reacting to them, to their anger, because when you're reacting to the anger. You're not reacting to the questions that they are asking. You're not responding to them. So then I said, okay, let's make a sample call. You're saying that your calls, you have reports that show that your calls, customers only hold for 30 seconds. So let's do a sample call. When we did the sample call, and I asked, what is the telephone? They gave about 10 telephone numbers. I said, well, there is the problem. So I had to prove to them that what we were saying was correct, but without making the other person feel like a fool. So if I say, hey, I have an MBA, I have a master's, how dare you ask me these questions? Then immediately it's a we they situation. So, did you have any? I'm just going on, but if you have any questions or comments or anything, stop. I'm going to stop and let you think before I go to the other three rules. My favorite rule is silence. But before I get to that, if you have any questions,
Well, Nolan and I can practice a little of that. But that's, yeah, no, this is great.
the rule, the rule is being open-minded. Because of my background in market research, I have to say that I'm fairly neutral and open minded when I discuss with people, when I have a conversation, and that goes with not reacting and things like that. So, open minded is, one of the important elements of this open mindedness is to be cognizant of who you're talking to. You have to be open minded enough to talk to them in their language. For instance, I had to give presentations to IT people, operations people, more sales and marketing, and senior level people. So when I go to senior level people, I go right to the what's in it for you. I don't go there, give them a whole lot, bunch of data and everything, go right in. So when I talk to sales and marketing, I'm not going to give them a bunch of data because they are going to all of them fall asleep. So there I give them ideas. And when I present to IT people, it's all about, process, and the operations people on logistics. If I remember this director of communications who came in and did a fantastic presentation, and the operations people who had a stony silence throughout. But in the end, when she came to the logistical, they all woke up and they were all interacting with her. So, and then she was saying, Mala, I think I should have first started with the logistics. Maybe they would have been awake for the rest of the. So you have to, when you present options in negotiation, I always tell people, look at who you are presenting to. Don't just go in and give some ideas.
Yeah, that's hard to do, right? Because a lot of times when I'm presenting, I am presenting the what I would want to hear versus thinking where is their listening.
Exactly, exactly. And that I think is the critical. Like when I did market research, I would change gears based on who's in my audience. With operations people, I would not give a sales pitch because they would all say, "Oh, you're cutting into my bonus. You're creating all these things, that's going to cost, and management is going to cut my bonus." So I think it's very important to be very audience driven when you're presenting. And the best way to start is by asking a question. When you ask a few questions, then you'll know what type of audience you have. So then you present. So when I go into any kind of lecture or anything like that, I start with a question. Then I know who I'm talking to, what is their mindset. See, it's the mindset here that is very critical. And the same thing with there's another category, and it's in the book. It's about the talkers, the planners, the movers, and the shakers. These are different people, and the doers. So these are four types of people in companies that I've seen. So when I remember one of the negotiation classes said you have to talk to a decision maker. So how do you know they're a decision maker? Sometimes doers come in and say, okay, we'll go back and we'll get back to you. Then that's the worst. That's not negotiation then. You're just basically, laid out all your cards on the table, and then you're going to have a decision maker come in. So it's very important to know who you're dealing with. Is the doer or the planner, the talker, the mover shaker. So you need in the mover shaker, you need the talker so that they'll bring the balance in the negotiation table. So that is, and then my final is don't mess with silence. I remember I remember going to classes where they said, well, when the other person has presented something and they are stubborn and they're taking a stand, then be silent. And when you're silent, the other person is going to get nervous and they're going to kind of like give in. And silence is very powerful. So you don't want to use it that way if you want to maintain a long-term relationship. If you want to win, yes, go to buy a car and the guy is talking left to right. Yeah, if you're just silent the whole time. I tried this recently when I bought my my Toyota. I was so silent, and that person just gave in. And I said, okay, it's okay. For a car, it doesn't matter. I walk out, and it's not like I need to have a continued, uh, long term friendship or anything. But you don't do that when you are in a client vendor relationship or within the company when you're trying to every day, you're daily. in corporate America, you're negotiating. So you don't want to do that to your um, to your colleagues, your teammates, your people who are, reporting to you. Then, if a person comes in and says, Mala, I want a salary increase, and you're just quiet and looking at them, that's going to make them nervous and they'll walk out. So I think silence is very powerful. Silence is to give the other person a chance to think, because most of the time, the conflict is within yourself. The conflict is within yourself, and that gets expressed when you go to negotiation. And this is what I coach when I talk to people. Oh, that person is this way, and this, we're always fighting with each other. And, he is mean and he doesn't respect women. This happened, one woman was telling me. I said, the conflict is in your mind. You've got this big imagination that is built. You've built really a nightmare in your mind that is constantly chattering. So when you face the other person, the first thing that comes out is something unpleasant. So it is very important to silence your mind. The best way to silence, of course, is meditation. A lot of people cannot. Other ways is to listen to soft music, listen to inspirational talks, and everything, so that you're kind of silencing your mind so that you quieten the chatter in your mind. I did a major presentation, and it was a very, very, very contentious presentation. Everybody was so, and then my client called and she said, Mala, we're going to introduce another coach, executive coach, into the group. And I was like really mad, because I had just come out of a contentious presentation where everybody was challenging me. And I'm thinking, oh, there's another challenge. I set up this executive coaching program and I'm like the lead person and they're hiring somebody without talking. So my mind was chattering. And that's what I blurted out. I said, nobody told me. How could you do this to me? That was it. And then, I realized, and she said, Mala, I'm surprised that you're talking that way. You don't talk that way. And then I said, okay, I'm sorry. I was in a bad presentation. Can you give me some time? So I hung up, had the time. When I came back, it was a totally different approach. And they had that coach reporting to me. So it's that's when you use silence. It's the silence is not to outwit the other person. The silence is to silence your mind and remove all the conflicts and the imaginations and the gory details sitting in your mind, so that when you talk to the other person, there is clarity. And when there is clarity, definitely the outcome is better. So that basically is my lecture on the 8 rules.
The 8 rules. The 8 rules. That's great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for sharing that, Mala. I think those 8 rules are pretty powerful, especially as I think we just like hearing about different people's frameworks, rules, anything that they follow when it comes to negotiations. Hey, thanks for checking out this video on NEGOTIATEx TV. If you found any value at all, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification icon if you want to be notified of future videos. And then we also have a couple videos over here that you might be interested in checking out. If you and your small business, your team, are looking to get negotiations or leadership training, then you can head over to NEGOTIATEx.com and learn more about the coaching services we offer. Thanks, and I'll see you over in the next video.